I was born in Perak, West Malaysia. It's a small state in Malaysia, and a smaller town actually called Tanjung Malim, which is where I was born. And the claim to fame for Tanjung Malim was that it had curfew imposed upon it in the 40s when the Brits were fighting the communists for a week. So nobody could get out of the city and nobody could get into the city. So we moved to Kuala Lumpur in '77, and I went to school in Singapore. So actually, I grew up in Malaysia but went to school in Singapore, and then the four of us, my brother, myself, my father, my mother, we moved to Singapore and we went to school there, and then we performed national service. All the boys in Singapore go through national service for 3 years. Then I went to get my teaching certificate, taught high school, and then there was a shortage of English teachers, so I came here to study English. Very idyllic. Singapore is a very, Malaysia is very, very rural, rustic. Well, those days, not anymore, I suppose. And Singapore is very, very progressive. So I had the best of both worlds, I think. I like to describe myself as a Malaysian at heart, but a Singaporean in my mind, because they're two different types of folks, actually. So there's a contrast between rural and urban, and it was different. I was glad that I was exposed to both growing up in Malaysia and Singapore. My brother had gone the year before to study law in England, and my parents had already retired, so it was time for me to go leave the coop, to say, put it another way. If anything, I was sad that I was leaving my parents behind, which would come back to bug me down the road. But having the opportunity to come to the US and to learn a new subject, meet new people, was really exciting for me. Because I spoke the language, English, it really made it very easy for me to meet people. So there wasn't any problems there. I had an accent, I still have an accent. My kids will tell me very, very clearly that I have an accent to my face. So that was an issue to an extent, trying to get around the accent. My name, Vinodh, was hard for very many Americans to pronounce, and that's, in room number 550, Dupree, I was christened Vinny, because they couldn't get to say Vinodh after a few years. So they called me Vinny. So there wasn't any culture shock, for want of a better term. I don't think I was depressed, because it was so exciting. I lived in Dupree, the 5th floor of Dupree, 5th East, and I had a lot of friends from Lincoln, Nebraska. So I hung out with them a lot and saw a lot of football games. It's always all my work, my professional career has involved refugee, immigrants, and communities of color. I've worked largely in disparities, health disparities, social services, human services, employment, housing, and I now currently work in educational disparities, looking at how to reduce the achievement gap between white students and communities of color. I find it very, very rewarding. I feel that I've worked with the Somali community for a long time, and I owe a debt to the refugee community. I feel that I've learned so much from them about hope. So it's a humbling career. I've got 2 boys of mixed ancestry, so I try and make sure that they realize that that they have roots both in Asia and here in the US. Mom is from Fargo, North Dakota. I try and make sure that they realize how lucky they are. We do a lot of stuff with refugee immigrant community celebrations so that they are aware of what I do. I think it was hard for me to give up friends in Singapore. It was hard for me to give up my family in Malaysia. It was really hard for me to give up my parents, knowing that they were older. And looking back right now, I still don't regret the decision that I made to come, but I regret the decision that I didn't make enough of an effort to go back to spend time with my parents.